Hi, my name is Sander. I'm from the Netherlands and I'm traveling with my motorcycle from Australia back home to the Netherlands. At the moment I'm in beautiful Jakarta in Indonesia. I'm having a little break because of the coronavirus. I sadly have to go home, put my trip on hold, but I'll be back. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 38 years old and I like to travel with my motorcycle. I decided it was time for a big trip because this is something that I wanted to do for a very long time. Motorcycle travel has always been something that I was interested in, but I never really pursued until I was working and traveling in Australia in 2012. I met a German guy called Martin. He was in the Australian outback with his motorcycle with a German license plate, and that intrigued me. Started talking to him and he told me all sorts of cool stories about where he'd been before he got to Australia. He'd been around Africa, the Middle East and Asia. From there he traveled to Australia. We traveled together for a few days. We both went to New Zealand. In New Zealand I rented a motorcycle, traveled for 10 days with Martin. We camped out in the mountains and he told me more cool stories and I really loved it. That's when I decided I need to go on a big trip of my own. When I got back home I started saving up my money. Finally got there, bought a motorcycle, a travel capable motorcycle, a Yamaha XT600, old bike, very simple mechanically, and I decided that would be a good reliable bike to do the trip with. Put some various bits on it to make it suitable for travel. Shipped it to Australia because at first the plan was to travel from the Netherlands to Australia, but then I found out that I would end up in the Himalayas in the middle of winter and I really hate cold, so that wasn't an option. So I decided to turn it around, go to Australia first and then ride home. That's what I'm doing at the moment and I'm loving it. It's great. I've been traveling now for 1 year and 4 months, of which I spent 11 months in Australia, 5 in Indonesia. My favorite part of my trip? That's hard to say because I've had so many really amazing experiences basically everywhere. Australia is a country that I really love for its people and its landscape. It's very different to the Netherlands where I'm from, which is a small country and it's very populated. So I really enjoyed being there, camping in the outback, being just by myself or with a few other travelers that I'd met. But also in Indonesia, everywhere I go, I meet amazing people. If I just stop for fuel or to look on the map, people approach me and we have a chat. And sometimes I get invited to join someone for a coffee or they invite me to stay at their place. Hard to say really what has been my favorite bit. I haven't really had any bad bits. It's been very good in general really. I think in general a lot of people see the world today as a dangerous place, that there's a lot of bad people out there that might have bad intentions. So far I've come to the conclusion that it doesn't really matter what country you go to. The majority is very friendly, welcoming and wants to help you. Of course you can always get unlucky and meet nasty people that might want to rob you or do something that is not so nice, but in general people are really cool as long as you present yourself as being friendly too. Like when I stop somewhere with my bike, I take my helmet off and when there's people there I say hello or I give a bit of a nod and I smile and people respond to that really well. I've had 0 bad experiences so far. I've been greeted with hospitality everywhere so far. Well, in first instance, when I was thinking about going on this trip, I thought that it would be mainly about riding the motorcycle, which is something I really enjoy. Riding the bike, taking in the scenery, seeing all the beautiful landscapes, stopping for a break, walking up a mountain for the view, or seeing a beautiful waterfall, enjoying some quiet time on the beach. And I thought that would be sort of the biggest joy of the trip. Along the way, I found out that I still love riding the motorcycle, I still love seeing the beautiful beach and the great waterfall and things like that. But what really makes the trip for me is meeting the people that I meet. That can be when I have a coffee somewhere, just a 2-minute chat with someone who asks where I'm from. It can be meeting older people well in their 80s. It can be an interaction with a little child. For me, it really turned out that meeting the people, that's really what it is about. So many new friends along the way in Australia, in Indonesia, people who have opened their house for me, invited me and introduced me to their family, to their friends, told me about the history of where they live. And for me, that is really what makes it interesting for me, and to experience what life is like in different places. For me, I would say the hardest part is taking a break in time. I tend to keep going no matter what, because there's always something to see, there's always people to meet. I find it hard to take a break when I'm staying in a little hotel or I'm camping somewhere and I have to go for dinner somewhere. There's always someone to talk to, and then I stick around, and then it gets late. I talk for too long because I get engaged in a cool conversation with someone. Basically, I haven't really had any bad experience that it was hard. When I was in the middle of the outback, I had a few punctured tires in a row, and after a while I couldn't repair my tire anymore. I was in the middle of nowhere and I couldn't get the bike going anymore, and I decided I'm not going to stress about this because there will be a solution. So even that wasn't really a problem. Yeah, no real negative things so far, really. Yeah, that was quite interesting. I was preparing to ship my motorcycle in the sort of the regular way that most people do who travel from Australia to Indonesia or the other way around. And I was emailing with that company and arranging all that. Then I was in the north of Western Australia on a beach called Honeymoon Beach. I met two guys there, Dave and Gary. We had a chat and they asked what I was doing, and I told them about my motorcycle trip, and I was going from Australia to Indonesia soon. And they said, oh, that's cool, because we're traveling with a boat and we're going to Indonesia too. They asked me to drop by and come for some drinks on the boat and see the boat, and turned out the boat was very nice and quite big. After a while I asked, well, since you're going to Indonesia anyway, would you mind if I come along for the ride? And Dave said, yeah, no problem. Put your bike on the back of the boat and we'll take you to Indonesia. So I had an amazing experience. We went from Darwin to Kupang in Indonesia. That's where we did our paperwork, and then from there we went up to Flores through the Komodo National Park and ended up in Labuan Bajo, where we took the bike off the boat. That was an amazing experience. That's really something unique. That's why I like this type of travel. It's one surprise after the other. That keeps me going. I think how friendly, welcoming, interested, curious and open the people are. They love to interact. That makes me very enthusiastic as well. It's really a joy to travel here. And friends of mine who've been to Indonesia said, you're going to love Indonesia. And yeah, it turns out they're right. I love Indonesia. It's a great country. Well, at the moment, my travel has been put on hold because of the coronavirus. Sadly, I have to fly home to the Netherlands. I'll take the opportunity to find a job when I get back home, earn some more cash to support my travels. When I get back here, I'll ship the bike to Malaysia. From Malaysia, I'll start to travel the mainland, Southeast Asia, go from Malaysia to Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and then through Thailand again, through Myanmar, India, Nepal, and the Stans, to make my way home back to the Netherlands. For my next trip, good question. I have decided, or I've come to the conclusion that I really enjoy off-road riding with the motorcycle. That's also why I have an off-road capable motorcycle at the moment, but it's a bit heavy and the gear that I carry is too heavy as well, and it's too bulky. So for my next trip, I have a lighter bike, lighter gear, so my sleeping bag, my tent, my cooking gear, everything has to be more compact and lighter, which will enable me to do more challenging off-road riding, which I really enjoy. See some more remote places. Of course, there's a lot of roads in this world. They usually take you to the very populated bits. The more off-road capable you are, the more interesting places you can find, I found. So that's my goal for the next trip. From the Netherlands, I'd like to go to the east, Poland, go to the Ukraine, through Russia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, from Russia, ship to Alaska, and then go down through the States, down to South America. I would say in general, you tend to get what you give. If I go out in the street over here and I walk around and I smile, someone coming towards me, I say hello and I smile, then they smile back and they greet me too. If you smile, if you try to make contact with people, people will be nice to you. As you see more of the world, you will see that this goes for everywhere. Some people think that in certain countries people aren't nice because that's what they've learned through the history books or through what they see on TV, because there's always war over there, or those people are not like our type of people, they don't have the same religion, they don't look the same as we do, so they must be very different and they can't be very nice. But in reality, people all around the world are basically all the same. They might look a little bit different, they might speak a different language. Yeah, I think a positive attitude goes a long way. So a little tour of my motorcycle. This is my 1999 Yamaha XT600. Nice and simple, old school motorcycle. Not a lot of electronic tech, so I can fix it myself. Normally, I have my big yellow waterproof duffel bag on the back here. That's where I keep my tent, my sleeping bag, my air mattress, and some clothes and stuff like that in. Then on this side, I have my cooking gear. I have a little petrol burning stove. I have my pots and pans. There's some more clothing in here. On the other side is where my laptop lives. There's some more electronic hard disks and an e-reader, stuff like that. Also my first aid kit, because you never know what happens on the road. I could fall and injure myself, so I've got some bandages, I've got various painkillers, there's stuff for when I really get sick. I have some antibiotics and things like that. I've got a water filter, for instance, for when I'm somewhere where there's no reliable drinking water. I'll have to filter my own water. Then in the back here is a tool tube I made myself out of some rainwater pipe that holds all my tools, basically to do maintenance and repairs on the bike. I'm pretty handy myself mechanically, so most of the work on the bike I can do on my own. And for that I carry some spare parts too. I carry some oil filters, I have some spare sprockets for when the front sprocket wears out. Over here is some more spare parts as well. I've got some fuses, I've got some spare lights, I've got spokes in case I run into a big hole and my spokes in my wheel brake. Then there's a tank bag, that's where my camera sits, that's where my wallet is, that's where I have my phone, and a pair of sunglasses and things like that. Then here on the handlebars up here is where normally my GPS lives in this bracket. So I program that to take me wherever I want to go that day, or sometimes it just stays off and I just wander a little bit, because I also like to just go by intuition. When I see an interesting road, I just take that road and I don't really know where it's going to take me, but we'll just see what happens. Set the bike up with a long-range fuel tank. Normally this bike comes with a 12-liter tank. Only gets me 200 kilometers, so now I have 23 liters, which takes me 400 kilometers down the road. I've got a bash plate at the bottom to protect the engine for when I'm riding off-road and there's some rocks flying around, or if I have to jump over a log. I've got some extra lights installed at the front for riding in the dark, to light things up properly so I can see where I'm going. I've upgraded the suspension, I've raised the seat, I've added the luggage racks so I can take all my gear, and that way I have a pretty travel capable bike. It's not the most comfortable bike, but I don't mind that. I don't mind feeling that I'm on a motorcycle. So yeah, that's a little tour of my motorcycle. Yeah, so this is my my toolkit I have for maintaining and repairing the bike on the road. I have some what you do when you go on a big trip with the bike is you see what size all nuts and bolts are, and you try to figure out what sizes do I need. So I've got 8 millimeters, 10, 12, 14, 13, 17. I've got some Allen keys, I've got some hacksaw blades, I've got a toothbrush to clean my chain. I've got a tool to tension my spokes, some pliers, a little multi-tool, a Leatherman, and tire levers for if I have a flat tire I can take the tire off and replace it or repair it. And yeah, you sort of have to figure out what do I need for my bike, and do as much as you can yourself. Yeah, you learn how to work on your bike so you don't need other people, and yeah, you can do more than you think usually. Very handy to have.